Hello, I'm Brian. It's another beautiful morning here in Southern California, Zone 10B, in the urban peripherals of Los Angeles. I'll be working in the planters this morning, and I hope you come along. I have this clothes hanger and some twine, so let's see what we're going to do with it. Dry cleaner clothes hangers are super useful in the garden, and I grabbed one by chance, and I happened to get one that is pretty heavy gauge wire. It's not going to help my tennis elbow too much. But regardless, I'm going to make a couple or a few grappling hooks. And to the end of it, I'm going to tie a string. And from there, I'm going to attach it to the gutter, where then I will attach it to the trellis. And I'm building a place for the Black Prince tomatoes to climb on and get support from, because the tomatoes are growing taller than the trellis. So this is one method that I use for supporting tomatoes. Another is I would go in my backyard and look for long, straight stems or branches and cut them and use them as support. And if you have your favorite technique and you want to share it, please do so in the comments. I always like to try new things. When building this, you have to kind of make sure that it's not in the way and that it doesn't cause a tripping or snagging hazard. And training tomatoes is somewhat of a fun exercise. You have to be really gentle with them. They will break if you go too quickly, so the important thing is to go slowly, and if you feel like the stem is going to snap, then give it back a little bit and try it once more. And if it doesn't want to, there's a caterpillar egg that we found, then come back another day. So I'm going to finish the other ones and check out the space here to make sure that it has enough clearance and that it's not a hazard to myself or others. I found that tomatoes grow pretty wildly, so that's why we train and we pinch off suckers to get larger tomatoes, but also to manage them so that they will grow nicely for us. Here is a sunflower that's in the raised planter, and this one happens to be one that has lots of flower clusters on it. Down below are some Prune heirloom shallots. If you stay and watch to the end, we'll see some of the bigger ones in the front yard. That was a Thai bird-eye chili, some Tokyo long white onion, parsley. This is bull's blood beet. Coming over this way is a heirloom Italian Roma tomato. There are a couple of borage plants in the front of the planter, and they're flowering now. I had wanted to actually have a whole row of borage plants, but these are the only two that sprouted. Here are some more Italian Roma tomatoes. And then in the back, we'll see some more Black Prince tomatoes. And these are about the size of a large plum, both in size and shape. So they're coming along. And then this is the other planter where we harvested some Black Prince tomatoes. And this year we got some pretty big sized Black Prince tomatoes. They're normally not as big as this, just a little bit smaller. So I'm super happy that they're doing well. This is the pole that I got out of a tree that I was talking about earlier, and these tomatoes are being trained onto the pole. This is a yard long bean or a red noodle bean or Chinese long bean, and they get pretty long. I don't think they get 3 feet long, but this one's probably closer to 2.5. It's a pretty long bean. It's pretty cool. And then we have more Black Prince tomatoes. And back here, I've started to train the tomato around the branch. The stems here are pretty rigid, so I don't want to go too quickly, otherwise they'll break in half. The two plants here are probably closer to their end of life cycle, so anything that grows on top is probably not going to be very productive. And then back this way are some other tomatoes that we're waiting on, but the Italian Romas, they are already making fruit and they're starting to ripen. So it'll be nice when they all ripen at the same time and we can use them all together. And I'm starting more tomato plants. This is the Ant Ruby German Green tomato. We're supposed to have La Nina this year. It's a weather phenomenon where we're going to get warmer than usual temperatures, so that means maybe we'll have an extra growing season. That's a jalapeno, and these are the Krishna Tulsi. Down on this row, the carrots haven't sprouted, so maybe it's too hot, or it is too hot for them to sprout. Some more Krishna Tulsi, and its cousin, the Rama Tulsi, or Thai holy basil, and they're starting to set seed. Coming back this way are some togarashi peppers, and then the tomatoes, I'm going to give it a pruning now. Before I left it alone because I had actually wanted to attract the hornworms to this area. And in my experience, I found that hornworms like to hang out on the lower parts of the tomato plant because I think they get better cover from birds. So I left the leaves on the bottom. And now I need the space to allow this Black Prince eggplant to grow. So now with the leaves removed, I have to be more careful and more observant of the top portion for hornworms because I don't want them to cut the leaves off the top. And generally for many tomato growers, they'll take the bottom leaves off because this is where you're not going to get a lot of sun. So the plant really doesn't really benefit a lot. And also the leaves are susceptible to mold when you water and the mold splashes off the ground onto the leaves. Too bad my rabbit doesn't like the tomato leaves, so I'm going to compost it. And as I dump the compost in, or the leaves in, I noticed that my spider friend is over here now, so I need to get him back onto the tomato plants. And also in here is a June beetle. June beetles are finishing up their mating cycle, and they come to the compost bin to lay their eggs and live out their life. And if you have trouble with finding larvae in your soil, I recommend that you try starting a compost pile, because when I dig in this compost I find a bunch of large larvae, and I don't find them too much elsewhere in the yard. So if you have a nice compost pile for them, they'll probably hang out there rather than elsewhere and nibble on your roots. So let's go out in front and look at the French heirloom Prune shallots, and we'll walk by the daylilies and such. And in this planter here, I've planted some shallots, and I've pushed them over because I think they're almost ready to be picked. So pushing the onions over, it happens naturally when they're ready. It just tells them, hey, let's get ready for picking. I also want to show you some of the things that are over here. This is where I'm plant sitting for my sister-in-law. There are a couple of Japanese maple, and they were pretty much leafless. I gave it a good watering and a topping of soil, and now it's looking a little bit better. I hope she doesn't mind that I gave it a pruning. I took some branches off the side that's near the trunk. And I'm also growing beans and also some green zebra tomatoes. So I don't know how long she needs me to plant sit for, but in case it's going to be a long time, then I'll get some tomatoes out of it. So once again, this is the sunflower that's blossoming, and this is the end of this video. So thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next time.